Today's Wednesday, my dudes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Weird Shit Wednesdays. This is Natasha with you, and we're going to cover a strange topic today that I find just truly fascinating. It's going to be some situations that will make you think to yourself, wow, it's a small world. I'm not going to play any Disney sound or anything like that to drive you absolutely batshit crazy with the ride, but they're just going to be real life situations where you really have to think about it, and some of them are just insane. I'm going to share a few that I found online. And then at the end, I'm going to share one situation from a local couple here in my town that I was made aware of, which was truly just spectacular to me. I thought it was super great. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, call it karma or strange coincidences, but these stories will really get you thinking. I want to note that these stories are from sites posted in the description of this podcast. They should be down below. I'm going to go ahead and put the links in there so that you guys can check those out if you see fit. There's some other stories that I did not include in there if you wanted to check those out as well. So here's the first story. This is one from a website. It doesn't have names, so I'm just going to go ahead and read them all by quotes just to make sure that I don't miss anything here. So we have, quote, I live in Canada and I used to travel for work. I went to the UK, landed in London, and rented a car to drive to the job. I stopped at a highway rest stop on the M1 to get some McDonald's, went inside, and ran into my next door neighbor from Canada. Like, what are the odds of that? I mean, you're traveling to a totally separate country that's forever away, and you somehow run into your neighbor at your original country of origin here. Another story goes as follows, quote, I left a job and moved to another side of the country to work somewhere else. I ended up working with the identical twin of a guy that I had worked with the previous job. And that would just absolutely blow my mind. Imagine going into a job on total opposite sides of a country that you live in, only to walk in and see, you might even think you're in a Twilight Zone walking in and seeing the face of a man that you worked with somewhere thousands of miles away. And lo and behold, it's just his identical twin brother. Are you kidding me? Total mind blow. So then we have the next one. And it says, quote, my wife was born in California in a hospital that technically no longer exists. Apparently, that hospital had burned down and got rebuilt. She was born with a heart murmur. About 24 years later, she was at college in Vermont getting her master's degree. While she was there, a nurse from California came and spoke to her class, telling them all about a familiar case of a heart murmur in a newborn infant and how one of the hardest parts of the job was not knowing whatever happened to the patients with problems like that left the hospital. It was my wife's case that she was talking about. She ended up getting to speak to the nurse after the presentation and found out that the nurse was instrumental in her birth. And that, I'm telling you, small world. I can't even imagine that situation, finding somebody who was so detrimental in your survival at an early age, and then you never know where they're at, and you make a whole presentation and say that it's so hard not knowing what happens to them, only to have one of your actual cases of success that somebody grown and had this life is right in front of you the whole time. I mean, that's just mind boggling. And here is one that could potentially wreak some havoc on someone's life had the situation been completely horrible or something of that nature. And we have, quote, I was working at a call center and I needed a caller's social security number. He gave it to me and I said, no, yours, not mine. Then it dawned on me that his social security number was the same as mine, but with two numbers reversed. We talked a little more, and it turns out we were born on the same day in the same hospital. I can't even imagine that either. I wonder if they had the same name, that would have made it even worse. If the other one was using, I mean, how would that even function? I mean, I guess they probably couldn't have the same name, social security number, and all of that. But if your names are similar and say you accidentally, transposed a number early on and you don't notice it, you could be using this other person's credit this entire time. And if you were not making responsible decisions and you were not doing very good work as to keep your credit score good, you could be ruining this other person's life the whole time and not even know it. This next one gets a little crazy. Let's hear it. It says American twins Jim Lewis and Jim Springer were separated at birth and only reunited 39 years later. The story would have been crazy enough just like that, but it goes even further. While chatting, Jim Lewis and Jim Springer discovered far too many similarities between their two lives. Already, they have the same first name. Then they both had a dog named Toy. They both became sheriffs. They both married a woman named Linda, divorced Linda, and remarried a Betty, and their respective sons have the same first name, James Allen. Frankly, even though my rational mind is blown, this is just, not only are they twins separated at birth, but the lives that they led are virtually identical. So I can't even, like, that's just so crazy. With what are the odds? I mean, I know twins, multiple sets of twins that went to school with me, and they, even though they're identical, they lead different lives. They have different professions. They have different named children, like that kind of thing. Their spouses have different names. So for all of this to be intertwined like that just absolutely just amazes me. I think that is so crazy. The next one I have is actually the last one, and it is a local story that I was told about here in my hometown. And hearing this story and having it brought to me is actually what gave me the idea to cover this topic this week and go over some other situations that are similar. A man named Larry worked with the police using specialized dogs, and he was utilized in a situation to find a girl that had gone missing. Now, I was not given a time frame as to how long the girl was missing or any of those type of details. I just know that there was I mean, she was a little girl, like small child, very small child. She was lost. Nobody could find her. And of course, people have got to be, expecting the worst and that kind of thing, especially when you bring the dogs out. That makes people's anxiety escalate and that kind of thing. But thankfully, in this situation, the girl was found deep in some woods. She was a little bit beat up, obviously, from wandering around the woods by herself. Alive, that was the important part. So they got her back home. She goes about her business and lives her life. Well, decades later, Larry's wife, Bonnie, was losing her battle with cancer and had been sent to stay in the hospice unit at the hospital. The nurse caring for the couple thought she recognized the name of the man who sat by his wife's side. After some conversation, they realized that the nurse caring for his dying wife was none other than the same little girl that he had rescued in the woods those decades earlier. And to me, this is a very, it's a touching story. How this all could have gone so differently had Larry not been a part of the search years earlier, and it was his dog that actually found the girl and was able to get everybody over there so that she could be helped and brought back home and all of that. And it appears that she led a pretty normal and fulfilling life after that, only to, in his time of need many years later, as he's needing comforted and he's needing his wife to be taken care of, and he needs to trust somebody to care for his wife, especially when she's vulnerable. What I think of it as is, way early on, here's this little girl. She's out in the woods. She's scared. She's probably hungry. She wants to go home. She doesn't know where she's at. She's lost and she is afraid. And all these decades later, you now have the man who rescued her, and in that situation that he's in with his wife being ill and all of these things going on, I mean, there's a good chance that he also, in his own way, feels lost and he's scared. And, he wants to make sure that, his wife isn't hungry. She's taken care of. She's got what she needs. And he's trying his best to be there for her as a husband, and also I'm sure managing other things outside of that, with the home and things like that. That, to me, it's just so crazy that, the same scared, lost little girl that he rescued so many years before is now the confident, caring, warm human being that is caring for him when he is now lost and scared and in need of assistance. And to me, that just absolutely shows, as many times as you try. I sometimes struggle with this, with people saying free will and all that stuff, but I'm like, these type of situations, how many decisions had to have been made for these two to end up crossing paths again in a time of need? And it might have been even, more helpful and comforting to him, knowing, one, that, he knows this person. He might not know her very well now and only knew her as a child, but he knows, and he can have confidence in her. And, she can now be like, hey, I know you're struggling, I know you're hard, but you helped me when I was in need, and I am now going to help you. So they both kind of get that, there was a meaning. It's kind of like that meaning for life. He's now like, oh my gosh, like the decision I made, the work I did, the people I helped. I mean, it really helped touch everyone, hundreds of people's lives, maybe thousands by that point. And just to know that the work you do and the people that you touch throughout your life, you're going to make a difference. Whether that's a good difference or a bad difference is up to you, but regardless, you're going to touch someone's life, and you never know if you might cross paths with that person again, or something in that type of realm, that's kind of like, a big slap in the face, and you could be like, wow, like I really did make a difference. I tried for, years to do the right thing. So it absolutely blows my mind. All these stories were great. So I hope you guys enjoyed them. If you guys have any of your own where you've kind of had a weird situation kind of like that, back and forth and that kind of thing, shoot them in. I mean, we would love to hear them. We're all about hearing stories, so we absolutely love it. It'd be great. We could, with your permission, we could add them in. Like I said, a couple episodes ago, we're hoping to get some listener stories in so that we could do a special episode around Christmas Eve time and do just a strictly listener story episode for you so that everybody can hear your story. Granted, also, again, with your permission, we're not going to post anything without you guys giving us consent to do so. But it would be really awesome. To be honest, so far, I've heard a few stories from some people, but no one's actually submitted anything. So I'm real hesitant to use them because, the whole word of mouth kind of thing. I don't want to accidentally get something wrong in your story or something like that, and maybe misrepresent or misunderstand what you meant or something like that. So please send those in, and we'll do strictly by what you submit. That way there's no confusion or anything like that, or any misunderstandings in that area. So that would be great. Also, if you guys have a chance, please rate and review us. You could do it on, I mean, any of the platforms. You should be able to do it on the website as well. It's the redrumpodcasters.com. On that website, we have links to all of our social media. We've got a link to the merch store. We've got places that you could donate to the podcast. We have the link to the Patreon where you can subscribe, have access to additional, depending on which tier you choose, the additional episodes. You also get access to those episodes a day or two early. There's other reviews and things like that. All of our episodes are available on there. So pretty much it's a one-stop shop for just about anything. Again, please, if you're wanting to enter the raffle to get our goodies, we're going to do the drawing on Halloween. We're looking at about a month and a half that you've got to submit that. Again, you can email us at the redrumpodcasters@gmail.com or submit one through the website, because right now we have one lonely soul that has asked to be in the raffle. So by default, they're going to get it unless we have some more people to actually, raffle. Please feel free to go on there, contact us if you have any questions, concerns, that kind of thing. We're looking forward to seeing everybody's holiday stuff going on. If you would tag us, send it to us, anything like that on social media, email, that kind of thing, that would be fantastic. I think that pretty much sums up everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you soon. Stay strange.